Well, hello and welcome to this special edition of the Adoption and Fostering podcast. And today I have a guest co-host. Ta-da!
Hi, my name is Aily Brown and I'm the FASD lead for FASD Hub Scotland.
There we go. So this is a special, and it's focusing on the FASD Hub in Scotland, which Ali's going to tell us all about. We've got some interviews with some of the team that are involved in FASD Hub, including Judith and Jessica, and we've also spoken to Gemma, who's a service user as an adoptive parent, and we'll be talking to Jen Shields as well. So first of all, Ali, I know you're my co-host, but I'm going to have to ask you questions because obviously people want to know what is the FASD Hub. So what is the FASD Hub? Okay,
so FASD Hub is a support service for parents and carers of children, young people and adults who have been exposed to alcohol pre-birth. So that could be a biological parent, it could be an adoptive parent, a foster carer, kinship carer. So anybody really who's the key person looking after that individual, and then everyone else that's supporting them around it, so social workers, teachers, other professionals, and we do that through our tiered support service.
So what does that look like?
So the tiered support service looks like a helpline, which anybody can ring and speak to one of our FASD advisors, two of whom you've chatted to as well today, or we've been talking to. And then that's our tier 1. Our tier 2 is we've got access to Facebook groups, which are closed Facebook groups where people can get peer support, which is a chance for people to just go, oh, I've had a really bad day, or what do you do about this, or celebrate. I think one of the great celebrations we had recently was somebody saying, I've just had a phone call from school, and because the child had thrown toilet paper after wiping his bottom at the ceiling, and we were all like, yay, he's wiped his bottom. So we kind of share the realities of parenting, and then it's moderated by the advisors, so they put interesting stuff, research up there as well. And then also within our tier 2 we provide a kind of direct support for people, so they can self-refer into that. So that's more than just, you just need to ring the helpline. That's a bit more like you need an ongoing conversation, you need somebody to maybe ring you once a week, or you might be ringing us, or we'll walk you through the journey of, is that issues with school, is it issues with getting a diagnosis, how do you go about it, making a subject access request, whatever that is, very specific to that family. And it could also include actually going along with them to like a MAC meeting or something. And then also within tier 2 we've got a whole suite of training which we've currently been piloting, and come early part of next year we'll kind of have some dates in the diaries where people will be able to come along to pre-arranged events, but also working with our hub users, so with our parents and carers, specifically around school. A lot of the time that's a big issue for people, so being able to go into schools and actually do some direct training with teachers in school, which is not just about that child, because we all probably, hopefully most people know by now, you're going to find maybe up to 5 or 6 of young people, children in a classroom who are affected by FASD. And then we have tier 3 service, which is access to therapeutic services via Tessa. But also we've got a separate budget, so that means that we can make this available not just to adopters but also to kinship and foster carers as well.
Fab. So I'm just going to rewind you a little bit there, because not everybody's going to know what Tessa is. So.
Absolutely. So Tessa stands for Therapeutic Education Support Services in Adoption. Yeah, it's a long title.
It is, And again, not everybody's going to know this, so where does that come from and what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's been funded by the Big Lottery for Adoption UK to roll out across all 4 nations. Originally it was in Northern Ireland, or still is, but it's kind of been there for a few years now. And within Scotland it's going to be a service that will be up and running at the beginning of 2020.
Cool, so it's a kind of transition into that kind of
into that.
tier 3 service.
The predominantly it is access to a clinical psychologist, a reflective parenting 6-week course, and a lead therapist. So that's kind of the core elements of Tessa. For the hub, we could use our envelope of therapeutic parenting a bit differently. So we've actually paid for some parents to be able to come on today's conference. They're thinking differently about education.
Okay, cool. So I think rather than people listening to us, we should maybe play some interviews that we've recorded today. So we've got Jen Shields, we've got Gemma, we've got Judith and Jessica. So enjoy these, and we'll chat more after them. So I'm now joined by Jen Shields. Hi Jen, thanks for joining us.
Hello, great to be here.
So would you like to just do a little introduction about who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jen. I'm a principal clinical psychologist by trade, and I work in the fetal alcohol advisory and support team that are based in NHS Ayrshire and Arran.
Okay. So we're obviously doing the special on the FASD hub, and obviously you've got that behind you, which is quite massive actually in terms of one NHS. You know, there's not too many NHSs doing this sort of thing all through the UK.
Well, the hope is, and I suppose this is where we really consider FASD to be everybody's business now, and we are a Scottish Government funded team with a national remit to help with training, consultancy, research and support across Scotland for practitioners, clinicians, people in education, social care to feel that they are able to be upskilled in FASD, to have FASD awareness, to know if you're a clinician, for example, how you might go about assessment and diagnosis and providing intervention and support. So our team are looking to increase knowledge and confidence in FASD across all the NHS board and areas, and we're really delighted to finally be able to have another third sector presence. There are others out there who for a long time been battling to be heard in regards to FASD. So to have FASD Hub Scotland come alongside and support us all to educate and moreover be alongside families and provide much needed support and guidance to them. I think it's fantastic.
Not an easy job that you've got.
No, I wouldn't say easy. Challenging but very rewarding and worthwhile.
I bet it is actually, So what's your specific involvement in the hub then?
So we work in partnership with the hub. We might have families who have approached the hub and who want to flag up an area in Scotland where training is required. So we might then collaborate with the hub, and we've recently shared our Train the Trainer package with FASD Hub Scotland so that they can take our slides and our training and take that out to where it's needed. And likewise, if there are clinical queries being asked, they might come to us and seek advice and guidance, and we will look to then offer that, or even connect with clinicians and practitioners in a health board area where a family are at seeking support but not quite sure how to go about it. So the FASD Hub have been great in signposting us to where we ought to be going, but also in turn we can signpost families to them, and together we're hoping to upskill and train and raise awareness across Scotland.
So it sounds almost like, I don't want to use the word wrap around because that's probably not the right phrase to, almost like a pincer movement, really. Maneuver, it's where you've got two, and it's reciprocal.
It is, we're hoping to dovetail to be able to support each other. But ultimately, I think that this isn't just a health thing, it's not just an education thing, it's not just for social care, but it's also for our third sector. And I think these things work better when we do wrap around, as you say, from all the areas, and because we all overlap and interconnect, and it's about the children and families being at the centre of that.
Okay, so in terms of your dreams, because obviously you're a professional working in this kind of this, I was going to say thing. It's not a thing. It's like an area. It's just it's an area, but it's a massive area, isn't it? What two things really. What is your personal ambition to achieve through your role?
Oh my!
And secondly, what is your ambition for the hub?
Okay.
Working alongside the hub.
So that's a huge question.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
But my immediate response is to say that my ambition through all of this was that children affected by alcohol exposure would have equal access to and equal ability to be understood, and for their strengths to be recognised, for what's challenging to be recognised, and so that people are able to properly support, educate and intervene where needed, where children do need extra support. These kids can do really, really well if given the right to early identification, diagnosis where appropriate, and support. And I think we can only get there early and get it right for every child by working together through knowing more about it, through knowing what to do if we feel FASD is in the picture, and being able to join together as a team around a child to provide support. So that's my personal ambition. And I think
sounds like a fab one, actually.
It's it's maybe just common sense, but it's what's kept me going the last so many years that we've been doing this work. But the hub have been such a welcome addition to what is a limited resource of specialist knowledge and education on FASD, and to have that third sector presence alongside other people who've been in the third sector, I think is marvellous, because I think it rested on very few shoulders before. And to feel like people are more broadly getting to know about FASD and know where to go, and that there's multiple places to go is what's needed, because this is arguably the most common neurodevelopmental condition that we have in Scotland. So why would there not be many places to go for support?
I think that's an amazing point to make, actually. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it, because you are just literally flying out the door.
I am. But thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
And it's been a real privilege to be part of today. It's been an amazing day and inspiration to hear from the young people particularly. So thank you for all your great work.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm now joined with Gemma. Gemma, welcome.
Hello.
So tell us a bit about why we should be speaking to you today.
Why should you be speaking to me? Good question. Because I have been accessing the services given by the FASD Hub from Adoption UK. And they've just been really, really helpful in our adoption journey.
Fab. So if you don't mind sharing, what is your kind of background with FASD? I mean, is that a new thing, or is it?
Yeah, relatively new within within the year anyway.
Oh, wow, okay.
So we've got a daughter who's 5, she's nearly 6. Adopted her at 8 months. No history of anything in the family, nothing to suspect that anything was wrong. And then when she was about 2, she started sort of displaying sort of autistic tendencies, but not really, and lots of behavioural stuff coming up, and that started us on a couple of years of a pretty horrible journey, going around doctors and social workers and trying to figure out what it was, and then eventually through Adoption UK we found out it was FASD.
Fab. So what was before the FASD Hub was established, what kind of levels of support were you able to access?
0.
Okay. I'll do that question then.
Gin, chocolate, screaming into no, none. We were, because what I know now is quite a common thing in the. So I was told very early on that it's not autism, because autistic children, I'm quoting from some idiot here, is they're autistic in every single situation. They can't mask it, they can't hide it, which I don't think is actually true, but never mind. So it can't be that. And because 99.9% of the behaviours only happened at home, then it must be, in the nicest possible way, it must be our fault. Something to do with our parenting, with, I don't know, some deep dark secret that we weren't disclosing of how we were treating our child, and so she was acting up in this way. And it was very much put to us in lots of different ways by lots of different professionals. I've no idea what you're talking about, she's absolutely fine. Some doctors even, stick out your tongue and say, that was the level of that was the level of examination. And then they just say, I'm really sorry to hear that you're being attacked on a daily basis. I don't know. Bye. So, and that was it, and we did that for about 2.5 years. And then the very last thing I did, stupidly, was, hey, why don't I call Adoption UK? They might be able to help us. And spoke to the lovely Fiona, and I mean, she'd never met Rowan, she'd never spoken to me. She couldn't say, obviously, yes, it's definitely FASD, but at the end of that phone call, everything just clicked. And I thought, this must be what it is. And it turns out, yep. It is, and
So it opened you up to new kind of options in terms of what other people were telling you.
Yeah.
So what's the kind of, I mean, without knowing the content of the FASD Hub, what sort of services are you accessing now that that's been established? Or what's helping the most?
What's helping the most? Something that I never thought that would. So I'm not very technologically savvy, having never listened to a podcast in my life. I know, I'm sorry.
That's about to change, I think.
I know. My husband's going to kill me. So he despairs. And I was never on, I hate Facebook, I hate social media, so does my husband. But I joined Facebook and I joined the FASD Hub support group. Yeah. And it's just, to say it's been life-changing is like really? Not an exaggeration, because you can just go on and say, hey, this specific thing is happening right now. I have no idea how to deal with it. And not only do you have people going, yeah, I've been there, literally tens of people saying, yep, know exactly what you're talking about. People can also give you practical solutions and tips and, try this, try that, try the next thing. Where when you've had 2.5, 3 years of people talking to you like you're a bad parent, you're an idiot, no idea what to say to you. And of course you've got all these friends who are lovely, who have children of their own, but they don't know what it's like, and you're sick and tired of trying to explain it to them. Having that place online to go, God, even just God today was hard. I can't, really couldn't do it today, couldn't do the therapeutic parenting thing. It's really been life-changing. So that's the big one for me. Also having the helpline, that's great. I mean, I won't go into it here, but there's something going on right now that I'm like, next week I'm phoning that helpline to get some advice, because there is no one else, to talk to, and they give such fantastic advice.
Great. Yeah. And so on the back of that, and this is my final question for you, do you feel like things have changed at home because of the FASD Hub?
Yes.
Oh wow, okay.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
We had gotten to the point, so up until we'd spoken to Adoption UK, we'd never heard of like therapeutic parenting, we'd never heard of different strategies on how to go about parenting somebody with FASD or tendencies like that. And within a day of implementing some of these things, it was instantaneous. Wow. Different outcomes to scenarios that we'd had day in, day out, transitions, getting ready for bed, something like getting your pajamas on, you could be attacked, and I'm not saying it stopped, but it's just amazing to have that kind of firm grounding of, I know how to deal with this and I know where it comes from. Just even that is an amazing thing, and obviously it changes the way that you approach situations as well, and it has that knock-on effect. So I tell Fiona and Ali all the time, like, just absolutely life-changing. I don't know what I would have done without them.
Fab. Gemma, thank you for joining us.
That's okay, no worries.
So I'm here with Judith now, and would you like to tell us who you are and what you do?
Yes, my name is Judith Knox and I work with the FASD Hub in Scotland as one of the 3 FASD advisors, along with our project lead as well, Aily Brown. My role in the Hub is around supporting families, particularly parents and carers, and also providing information and advice and guidance to professionals as well. That can be it's mainly from an education background and a social work background.
Right, okay. So what made you want to get involved in it?
I got involved with the Hub. Initially, I had made contact with Adoption UK because I'm actually an adoptive mum. I have a nearly 13-year-old son who was diagnosed with FASD 7 years ago. Right. It's been a hugely challenging journey. It's had its good parts as well. It's been very rewarding, also difficult. Yeah. I was coming to a point in our journey where my son was going off to residential school. Right. I'd managed to achieve that for him. And I saw the opportunity come up with FASD Hub and I thought, fantastic. Yeah. And the real reason I wanted to join was, 7 years ago when my son was diagnosed with FASD, I felt I was the the only FASD mum out there.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know anybody else. I felt very isolated. I didn't understand the condition.
Yeah.
Google was my best friend, I have to say. And not all of the information was correct.
Yeah, of course.
So I suppose I wanted just to make sure that other families didn't feel how I felt, which was alone.
Yeah. No, that's. I think that's a reasonable assumption to make, that if you've got personal experience of it, then it makes sense to share that. And also, just picking up on something you said there, actually to correct some of the myths around it as well, because if stuff's available on Google, on Dr. Google, then you want to put that right.
Exactly. I mean, when I was actually doing my Google research, the majority of information that I was getting was around facial features and small head circumference, and now that I'm in the know, I realise that that's only 10% of cases. And I was for several months, I kept on pushing it to the back of my mind when I was thinking about, could my son be affected by this? And it was purely because he didn't have all of those facial features. Yeah.
So the hub's not been going for too long. It's only been going for maybe 4 or 5 months now.
We launched in June this year.
October, November,
so we've been going
6 months.
We've been going for 6 months.
So what's kind of the most common thing that you're hearing from parents, whether they've got a diagnosis or not? What's kind of the stuff that's coming through?
It's challenges in education for their children.
Okay.
That is the most. That's the most common call that we get.
Yeah.
Around lack of understanding within the teaching profession, sadly. So the hub is there to offer training. Yeah. So we can go out and we can look to deliver training to schools. We're trying to do it in a cluster.
Right. Okay.
Sort of model. So there's only 4 of us within the team. So it's a lot to cover.
Yeah, of course.
We've done a few pilots recently with residential schools. And there's some other training coming up as well. We also do quite a bit of raising awareness and things, so social work departments as well, because I think it's really, really important to get the message out around the requirement to document the alcohol consumption if with grassroots professionals, if they're out there, to ask those questions about what was your alcohol consumption when you were pregnant, because it's really, really important it's recorded properly. So I think we need to get out there and we need to talk to health visitors and community nurses and different things like that, as well as the children and family social workers that are out there.
So interestingly, because I know this because I was on the inside back then, but obviously it's been hosted, but the hub has been hosted by Adoption UK, but it's not just adopters you're getting ringing in, is it?
No, absolutely not. I mean, initially we were funded to support adoptive parents, kinship carers and foster carers. There was a lot of media around when we launched in June, and we got quite a number of calls from biological parents who were still raising their children. And we felt that this was an area that, we didn't want to turn people away.
No, of course,
so we were offering support. We couldn't offer the full support, but we were offering advice and guidance over the telephone. So we went back to the Scottish Government and put in a proposal, and they very kindly gave us some additional funding to support those biological families.
That's great.
So we are doing that.
That's good to hear, isn't it? So in terms of the families, just lastly, I'd like to kind of ask you, what's the feedback been from some of the families that have used the service so far? I mean, obviously it's not a long time, but there must be
absolutely invaluable.
Yeah,
absolutely invaluable. I mean, all of us within the team, we go over and above what we do. We only work a limited number of hours, but because we have a Facebook support group, that's active 24 hours a day, and if you're like me, that you're a bit of an insomniac, then you're around to support other parents when they really need it, because I know it was in those sort of dark moments at 4 o'clock in the morning when I was Googling And I was feeling really alone, that I could have done with someone just to speak to. So there's always someone there. It's a growing community, and it's been fantastic. And I was speaking with a parent this week, and I spent quite a number of hours just chatting away to her and advising her. And she rang me back the following day, and she said, I just want to say to you that I feel that you've changed my whole outlook on the way I view my son and the way I view my situation. And they were on the point of adoption disruption.
Wow.
And that's what we want to support families, so that they don't reach that point where, you know, they're in crisis. And that's something that they're considering.
Sounds good. So obviously we're speaking to Aily and stuff like that, but what is your personal hopes for the future of the hub, for as long as you've got the funding anyway, which I'm sure will be extended, but
I hope so.
At the moment,
I hope so. We're working hard to make sure that you know, the service remains into the long term for those families that need us. I think the demand is going to increase. It's going to absolutely increase, because we've got the signed guidelines now in Scotland, and a lot of the health boards are now starting to diagnose FASD. So there's going to be more children coming through that have a recognised diagnosis. So they're going to need that additional support. So I think that the service, it has to continue. The way I see it is that, you know, I think we need local groups as well, and potentially a hub and spokes type model, where FASD Hub is seen as the umbrella organisation, and it has branches that are maybe more local, because a lot of the families that I've been supporting have been quite keen to meet up in person. For that, you know, not everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to do that, but there is a set number, and it's growing, of parents that want to meet up, and I think that would have to be done at a local level. So,
fab. Thank you for joining us and answering our questions.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Thank you. So I'm joined now by Jessica. Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. So tell me about you and why you're talking to us today.
Okay, so I am one of the FASD advisors with FASD Hub Scotland. So here to share a little bit more about what we do.
Yeah, cool. So first question, really, because I know you're not a parent. So why did you get involved with FASD Hub?
I joined the hub because I do have quite an interest in FASD.
Okay.
I'm currently doing my PhD, which focuses on FASD.
Right.
So I knew a lot of theoretical information about FASD. And that led me to being part of a team that runs a residential summer camp for kids with FASD.
Oh, wow.
So that's where I got my practical experience from. And I thought it'd be really nice to tie everything together in a day job that just complements everything that I do with my knowledge.
And I didn't mean it to sound like you're not a parent, but you know what I'm saying. It's nice to actually speak to somebody who doesn't have that kind of personal experience as well, because it must strike you as quite a difficult thing for some parents to have to deal with from the outside. As someone without that kind of.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like I've got a big spade digging a hole for myself there. Sorry.
Well, no, my experience on the ground is at the summer camp, residential summer camp, where we take care of these kids for 7 days without their parents, and it's the longest week of my year. So, when I'm training the staff to work at that camp as well, I always say, you guys are barely going to eat, you're barely going to sleep. This is going to be the most intense week of your life. Yeah. By Monday, 12 hours in, you're going to forget what the outside world looks like. You're going to have no energy. And that's the reality of it. So it's very different experience to having kids of your own or experiencing FASD at home. Yeah. But I definitely have a little window into the struggles that the parents are facing. Yeah, so.
Good. And do you feel like, I feel like I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but do you feel like that's going to be one of the kind of things for the future where, someone like yourself who has not got personal experience but you've got an interest in it, it's going to help to raise awareness and service provision and all that sort of stuff, especially like, you know, in 10 years' time, say, when you've done all your kind of training, all that sort of stuff. Do you feel that's one of the reasons why you wanted to get involved as well? Or I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm just looking forward, you know, when actually there will be more awareness and more kind of, hopefully more money to spend on.
I find this condition so interesting, and made the decision to focus my PhD research on this condition. And when people talk to me about the work that I'm doing and how that would apply with children with autism or elderly people with dementia or something like that, I'm very quickly like, no, I work with kids with FASD. FASD is the area that I want to work in, and I love the ability to share the story, whether it's sharing the story through camp and the staff that we bring into camp, or whether it's telling people about the research or through training that we do with the hub. You know, I do have a real interest in this, and I find it really enjoyable almost to share it with people and educate them when they ask questions. So
cool. So what are the main things you do for the FASD hub in your role?
The main things would be working on the helpline and supporting the parents who call us, just wanting a chat really, and just somebody to vent to who kind of understands what they're saying, and delivering training. We're doing a lot of training at the minute, going into schools and different things, raising awareness and training focused on strategies and things. And then we do a lot of behind the scenes work as well, so developing fact sheets and having a presence on social media, and just developing resources and stuff that will support everything else that we do.
And the resources and fact sheets and things like that, are you finding they're not just being accessed by people in Scotland, or do you think, or do you even know that? I don't know.
I'm not sure. In all honesty, I'm not sure. We do find that we have people from further afield calling the helpline,
right?
Definitely.
Okay.
So there is awareness of us outside of Scotland. And unfortunately, at this point, you know, the hub is only in Scotland, and we're only funded to support people in Scotland. So I do think those people are likely to be tapping into the online resources when they realise that the phone lines can't, you know, as advisors, we can't really help them much.
And I'm sure it's not because you don't want to. It's literally, you know, because there's such a big restriction on funding, isn't there, that you can only help.
And there's a lot of differences as well.
Well, yeah, exactly, especially the local services and stuff like that. Cool. So what, in terms of the future for the FASD hub, what would you personally like to see it doing in the future?
Growing massively. It needs to be a whole organisation in itself. You know, we are 4 people who work part-time with the hub, and you know, I think if we'd accepted every training opportunity, we'd be full till July, and that's without us doing anything else. There is so much need and so much demand in schools and other organisations as well, which we've barely tapped into yet, for training and for awareness to be raised, and we're just not, you know, tip of the iceberg. So I would really love to see it grow and expand and have a whole team of people, even a round the clock helpline, because, you know, things always happen at weekends when all the support's gone.
Cool. Well, thank you for talking to us, and I really do hope that you can contribute that in some way, and certainly if you're still around in 10 years, it would be good to revisit and see exactly where you are. But thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
So it's really interesting, actually. There's quite a good range of voices in there in terms of the FASD hub.
Totally. It really shows the breadth of how FASD affects the individual and the family, and actually the professionals, and the fact that, you know, this needs to be on everybody's radar because it's a huge issue for society.
It's going to get bigger. I mean,
I think it's going to get bigger.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because we obviously, in one of the interviews, we talked about access for non-adoptive parents, and, you know, I mean, even that in itself, that's quite amazing that biological parents who still parent their children are ringing up going, I I mean, that must be quite a difficult thing for people, and quite a shock when that first happened, I would imagine.
It's definitely a different conversation that you're having.
Yeah.
But I have to say, all of the parents that we have in the hub who are biological parents are just phenomenal people. Really, really brave people, really honest people. Just like, that was my life. That was what happened, whatever the circumstances were around it.
Yeah.
And just like the rest of us, wanting to do the best they possibly can for their children right now.
And do you think maybe that helps some adoptive parents with the kind of with their kind of thoughts about their own children's birth parents? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot a bit with that one, but it just struck me there that might actually
Yes, I think at the minute there's not been a massive crossover between the biological and like other kind of parents, adoptive or whatever. But certainly I think for people that have been the opportunity to be in the same space, I think that has changed people's views.
Yeah. So obviously this is a new thing, 6 months in. How long is funding for?
So funding's for 3 years.
Okay.
We officially were launched in June. And we've had getting on for over 100 direct kind of phone calls in that time. We've getting towards 200 people in the adoptive foster kinship Facebook group. We're busy. We've got an ever-growing self-referral into tier 2.
Right, okay. Oh, wow, okay. So, I mean, only 6 months, that's no time at all, really, is it? So
it's no time, no.
It's going to be at least a year, 18 months until you see the full impact of it. And obviously, it goes without saying, you're hopeful that at the 3 years point, you're going to get more.
Absolutely.
Touching wood.
I mean, it's just one of those things, isn't it? You don't know what funders are going to do. It's government. Who knows? We've got that dreaded thing next week. But let's hope, we're still in the same position government-wise and funding-wise. And I think the thing is, actually this is a social issue because it affects 1 in 6 potentially of the general population. And it's not about people being alcoholic. No. I think that's got to be a real clear message, and it's not about blame and shame either.
So obviously we know that people outside of Scotland can't access the helpline and stuff like that, because obviously that's restricted in some ways. But how could people access resources and stuff
support
from FASD?
Yeah, sure. So we do take the odd call from people outside Scotland. We don't mind speaking to other nations. We would either signpost them on relevantly to people like NoFAS, to people like FASD Network, other smaller organisations. We are part of the FASD Alliance now as well, which is great. So we're able to do that. From a hub perspective, we've got our own website, which is accessible through Adoption UK Scotland, where you'll find lots of resources, signposting, fact sheets, an ever-growing kind of list of things, both within the UK but internationally as well. And we're also on Twitter. We'd love people to be following us there, which is FASD Hub Scotland, easy to find. And we have our own Facebook page as well. Yeah,
so busy.
We're busy. Yeah,
you're very busy. Well, thank you for co-hosting this special with me.
Thank you for asking me.
You're very welcome, honestly. And it's worthwhile noting as well, because we've mentioned it all day, especially when we were interviewing the other guys, the FASD special that we did a couple of years ago. Yeah. That's our most downloaded podcast ever. Yeah. So I think that's proof in itself that, stuff's happening, and people want access to these kind of resources and stuff. So we'll come back to you at 3 year point and see, hopefully, where you're at. Hopefully it will still be you at 3 years. But thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.